Hello and welcome to chapter 4. In last 3 chapters, we worked on different situation projects like simple adjustments, something like camera angle distortion, color adjustment, light adjustment, and sky replacement. In second chapter, we worked on major changing and adjustments like changing the overall mood, lights, adding some elements such as plants, trees, peoples. And in the third mini chapter, we readjust second chapter project simply to after rain mood. But in architectural post-production, we have different situations too. Sometimes you have the projects like that, and you need just overall adjustment as we done in first 3 chapters. But sometimes you have only buildings or elements like the top image, and you need make environment for that, also readjust your subject. And even sometimes we don't have any specific building, only the concept of building or geometry is available, something like that, and we need to readjust the whole project. So in this chapter, we will work on some projects like this or this to make environment and fee adjustment on building. And in the next chapter, we will work overall projects from the concept, something like that, or even we might don't have floor, sky, environment, glasses or so. Alright, let's start. I use Evermotion Arc Exterior Volume 28 this scene and removed all other elements from the scene such as buildings here, streets and elements. Also removed some lights and decided to make my own version as experimental for this workshop chapter. So I rendered this one. Allow me to open it. Doesn't matter, okay. And because I saved as EXR format with 32-bit, so the gamma is not correct. And also if you check, I added some render elements such as alpha, reflection, refraction, and render ID. They gonna help us to do much faster and easier. However, I will explain again like previous videos, do it manually too. Because my file is 32-bit, when I'm opening with the Photoshop, as you see the gamma correction is not right. So if you go to the image mode and change to 16-bit, again I recommend first convert to 16-bit and in the last works with 8 for exporting. So I set 16. It is actually dramatic. But if you choose exposure and gamma, you could set here. I could check before after, nothing changed. You could decrease or increase the value of gamma, or just set the exposure, something like that. As you see, because usually tweaking here for HDR toning, it's taking a bit time. So I cancel it, going to image, adjustment and exposure. If you save all your files in 32-bit, it is very simple. Just set the gamma correction value to 0.5 and this is the original. But because I like to make it the night, not evening, at least close to the night, you could still decrease the value to get darker and darker. And because it is 32-bit, there is no any artifacts here. You see? Alright. I think something around 0.3 is fine. Don't worry about the sky and element on the floor. It is just as a guide. I don't need anymore. Okay. And this is fine. Now, as I tradition always think, duplicate your layer, right click and convert to smart objects, or go to the layer menu, smart objects, convert to smart object. Third way to do that I want to mention is in filter menu and convert to smart filters. Actually, it is a smart layer or a smart object. Okay, now again, save as your file to have a backup and work on that. File, save as with PSD Photoshop document format. Make sure layers are checked and save. You could check don't show again to save always with maximum compatibility. Okay, before jumping to the next video, I want to say something important here. Because we don't have a lot of elements here, we need to find what we're gonna do exactly here. First of all, it is very important to find the vanishing point. However, this series of tutorials is not about fundamentals of architecture or art or even graphic, but as a tradition of mine, I always trying to explain at least very basic and quick tips. As you know, if I start to drawing lines, allow me to select the line tool. You could draw lines. Alright. Also from here. You see what am I doing here? And you could continue, could find your vanishing point. But I prefer to use another techniques which will useful in the next chapters also for working on the own building, because we're gonna work only on the concept geometry of the building. So create a new layer, go to the filter menu, and as you see we don't have vanishing point available here because it is 16-bit. So I create a new document. Allow me to press Ctrl A, Shift Ctrl C to just know about the document dimension. If you don't know about your document dimension, go to image menu, image size, and here 3500, 2335. Okay, I just make a new document, clipboard size, create, and I drag this layer directly into this one, image, mode, 8-bit, doesn't matter actually, merge it, okay, and set on exposure and gamma. As you see, nothing changes here because I already adjusted, okay. Now I make a vanishing point here as guides. I create a new layer, go to the filter, now vanishing point available, or press Alt Control or Option Command V. This is new, but don't worry, it is very simple but very useful. Just as a simple quick explanation, by default create plane tool enable. Allow me to expand the window. If I start to clicking, click, 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 and click. As you see, I made my first plane as angle. It is yellow. Allow me to zoom in to show you. Because Photoshop recognized the angle is not so correct. So move your points to the more accurate angles. Something like that here and here. Red is totally wrong, yellow is a bit wrong, but the blue version is correct. As you see, my angles now almost correct. Now I could expand them. You see, it's working fine. And something interesting. If you hold on the Control or Command key and grab the edge, now I could define my new angle. You see? So allow me to reset and start drawing again, just as an example here, To show the workflow again, enable Create Plane tool, click, click. Try to click somewhere you could recognize. Don't worry, don't go so far. Click and click. I'm trying to match the correct angle. Because of my camera distortion, it's a bit tricky. Okay, as you see, it's very sensitive here. Now you could expand it. I'm pressing Ctrl or Command plus to zoom in and readjust the correct position. Okay. Something like that. You could set your grid size here, decrease or increase the spacing between. Allow me to expand to the top side. Okay. I think the correct angle is something like that. Alright. We don't have curve here, but we could make them simply. Now, if I hold on the Control key, I could expand it here. Again, Control key, expand here. You see? You're almost finding any place you like. Click again on this grid. Now I want to finish this job and render it. To do that, as you see, close to the Edit Plane tool, we have Flyout menu for settings. Click on that and select Render Grids to Photoshop. OK. And press OK. If you note that we rendered our grids, allow me to make a dark version of layer to be more visible. So this is very ideal for guide. Also, I click on this layer again. Allow me to bring back. Go to the filter, vanishing point. And the main important thing here is finding actually the ground and using this as a guide. So expand it down. You see, it is totally correct. Perfect. Now hold on the Control or Command key and expand it. You see, this is the correct angle of my floor. Allow me to zoom out more. The angle is so distorted. Expand here and expand here. You see, this is our guide. So it is very useful actually to getting guide help. I could increase the grid size. And yet you could expand your work any places you like. See, it is very useful and helpful. However, we don't need actually for this building, but I just use as example and help to make the ground floor. So with this technique, if even you didn't have floor ground, still you could get the guide where is the exact angle of this ground and use that beneficial. So again, click on the flyout of option, render grid to Photoshop. Okay. Now we have this grid. It is a simple rendered one. If you need make it more visible because they are so thin, hold on the Alt or Option key from your keyboard and use arrow keys. For example, I already hold it down, Alt or Option, right, up, left, down, and it is getting more thicker. Which this technique also very useful for some situations. For example, your drawn plans in somewhere like AutoCAD, easily you could make it thicker. I press Ctrl or Command E to merge down all together. It is thick, still you could make it thicker, you see. I hold it down, Alt and using arrow keys, which we don't need. Okay. and simply drag it into your main document. Note that here, before releasing your left mouse button, hold on the Shift key and then release the mouse button, yes, to put in correct position. Else, it is possible, for example, I bring it here. See, it is not the correct position.